Saying this is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know at www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset, where we read a little bit of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich and then discuss. Today we'll be reading pages 132 to 138. Let's get started. The folly of ignorance in connection with self was displayed by a young man who applied to the manager of a well-known business for a position. He made a very good impression until the manager asked him what salary he expected. He replied that he had no fixed sum in mind, lack of a definite aim. The manager then said, "We will pay you all you are worth. Alter after we try you out for a week." "I will not accept it," the applicant replied, "because I am getting more than that where I am now employed." Before you even start to negotiate for a readjustment of your salary in your present position or to seek employment elsewhere, be sure that you are worth more than you now receive. It is one thing to want money. Everyone wants more, but it is something entirely different to be worth more. Many people mistake their wants for their just dues. Your financial requirements or wants have nothing whatever to do with your worth. Your value is established entirely by your ability to render useful service or your capacity to induce others to render such service. Take inventory of yourself. 28 questions you should answer. Annual self-analysis is an essential in the effective marketing of personal services, as is annual inventory in merchandising. Moreover, the yearly analysis should disclose a decrease in faults and an increase in virtues. One goes ahead, stays still, or goes backward in life. One's object should be, of course, to go ahead. Annual self-analysis will disclose whether advancement has been made and, if so, how much. It will also disclose any backward steps one may have made. The effective marketing of personal services requires one to move forward, even if the progress is slow. Your annual self-analysis should be made at the end of each year, so you can include in your New Year's resolutions any improvements which the analysis indicates should be made. Take this inventory by asking yourself the following questions and by checking your answers with the aid of someone who will not permit you to deceive yourself to their accuracy. Self-analysis questionnaire for personal inventory. 1. Have I attained the goal which I established as my objective for this year? You should work with a definite yearly objective to be attained as a part of your major life objective. 2. Have I delivered service of the best possible quality of which I was capable, or could I have improved any part of this service? 3. Have I delivered service in the greatest possible quantity of which I was capable? 4. Has the spirit of my conduct been harmonious and cooperative at all times? 5. Have I permitted the habit of procrastination to decrease my efficiency, and if so, to what extent? 6. Have I improved my personality, and if so, in what ways? 7. Have I been persistent in following my plans through to completion? 8. Have I reached decisions promptly and definitely on all occasions? 9. Have I permitted any one or more of the 6 basic fears to decrease my efficiency? 10. Have I been either overcautious or undercautious? 11. Has my relationship with my associates in work been unpleasant or unpleasant? If it has been unpleasant, has the fault been partly or wholly mine? 12. Have I dissipated any of my energy through lack of concentration of effort? 13. Have I been open-minded and tolerant in connection with all subjects? 14. In what way have I improved my ability to render service? 15. Have I been intemperate in any of my habits? 16. Have I expressed either openly or secretly any form of egotism? 17. Has my conduct toward my associates been such that it has induced them to respect me? 18. Have my opinions and decisions been based upon guesswork or accuracy of analysis and thought? 19. Have I followed the habit of budgeting my time, my expenses, and my income, and have I been conservative in these budgets? 20. How much time have I devoted to unprofitable effort, which I might have used to better advantage? 21. How may I rebudget my time and change my habits so I will be more efficient during the coming year? 22. Have I been guilty of any conduct which was not approved by my conscience? 23. In what ways have I rendered more service and better service than I was paid to render? 24. Have I been unfair to anyone? And if so, in what way? 25. If I had been the purchaser of my own services for the year, would I be satisfied with my purchase? 26. Am I in the right vocation? And if not, why not? 27. Has the purchaser of my services been satisfied with the service I have rendered? And if not, why not? 28. What is my present rating on the fundamental principles of success? Make this rating fairly and frankly, and have it checked by someone who is courageous enough to do it accurately. Having read and assimilated the information conveyed through this chapter, you're now ready to create a practical plan for marketing your personal services. In this chapter will be found an adequate description of every principle essential in planning the sale of personal services, including the major attributes of leadership, the most common causes of failure in leadership, a description of the fields of opportunity for leadership, the main causes of failure in all walks of life, and the important questions which should be used in self-analysis. This extensive and detailed presentation of accurate information has been included because it will be needed by all who must begin the accumulation of riches by marketing personal services. Those who have lost their fortunes and those who are just beginning to earn money have nothing but personal services to offer in return for riches. Therefore, it is essential that they have available the practical information needed to market services to best advantage. The information contained in this chapter will be of great value to all who aspire to attain leadership in any calling. It will be particularly helpful to those aiming to market their services as business or industrial executives. Complete assimilation and understanding of the information here conveyed will be helpful in marketing one's own services. It will also help one to become more analytical and capable of judging people. The information will be priceless to personnel directors, employment managers, and other executives charged with the selection of employees and the maintenance of efficient organizations. If you doubt this statement, test its soundness by answering in writing the 28 self-analysis questions. That might be both interesting and profitable, even though you do not doubt the soundness of the statement. Where and how one may find opportunities to accumulate riches. Now that we have analyzed the principles by which riches may be accumulated, we naturally ask, where may one find favorable opportunities to apply these principles? Very well, let us take inventory and see what the United States of America offer the person seeking riches, great or small. To begin with, let us remember, all of us, that we live in a country where every law-abiding citizen enjoys freedom of thought and freedom of deed unequaled anywhere in the world. Most of us have never taken inventory of the advantages of this freedom. We have never compared our unlimited freedom with the curtailed freedom in other countries. Here, we have freedom of thought, freedom in the choice and enjoyment of education, freedom in religion, freedom in politics, freedom in the choice of a business, profession, or occupation, freedom to accumulate and own without molestation, all the property we can accumulate, freedom to choose our place of residence, freedom in marriage, freedom through equal opportunity to all races, freedom of travel from one state to another, freedom in our choice of foods, and freedom to aim for any station in life for which we have prepared ourselves, even for the presidency of the United States. We have other forms of freedom, but this list will give a bird's eye view of the most important, which constitute opportunity of the highest order. This advantage of freedom is all the more conspicuous because the United States is the only country guaranteeing to every citizen, whether native born or naturalized, so broad and varied a list of freedom. Next, let us recount some of the blessings which our widespread freedom has placed within our hands. Take the average American family, for example, meaning the family of average income. Sum up the benefits available to every member of the family in this land of opportunity and plenty. A. Food. Next to freedom and thought comes food, clothing, and shelter, the three basic necessities of life. Because of our universal freedom, the average American family has available at its very door the choicest selection of food to be found anywhere in the world and at prices within its financial range. A family of two living in the heart of Times Square district of New York City, far removed from the source of production of foods, took careful inventory of the cost of a simple breakfast with this astounding result. Here we have a list of foods and the cost at the breakfast table. Grapefruit juice from Florida, 2 cents. Rippled wheat breakfast food, Kansas Farm, 2 cents. Tea from China, 2 cents. Toasted bread from Kansas Farm, 1 cent. Fresh country eggs from Utah, 7 cents. Sugar from Cuba or Utah, 50 cents. Oh, sorry, half of a cent. Butter and cream from New England, 3 cents. Grand total, 20 cents. It is not very difficult to obtain food in a country where two people can have breakfast consisting of all they want or need for a dime apiece. Observe that this simple breakfast was gathered by some strange form of magic from China, South America, Utah, Kansas, and the New England states, and delivered on the breakfast table ready for consumption in the very heart of the most crowded city in America at a cost well within the means of the most humble laborer. The cost included all federal, state, and city taxes. Here's a fact the politicians did not mention when they were crying out to the voters to throw their opponents out of office because the people were being taxed to death. B. Shelter. This family lives in a comfortable apartment, heated by steam, lighted with electricity, with gas for cooking, all for $65 a month. In a smaller city or a more sparsely settled part of New York City, the same apartment could be had for as low as $20 a month. The toast they had for breakfast in the food estimate was toasted in an electric toaster, which cost but a few dollars. The apartment is cleaned with a vacuum sweeper run by electricity. Hot and cold water is available at all times in the kitchen and the bathroom. The food is kept cool in a refrigerator run by electricity. The wife curls her hair, washes her clothes, and irons them with easily operated electrical equipment on power obtained by sticking a plug in the wall. The husband shaves with an electric razor, and they receive entertainment from all over the world 24 hours a day if they want it without cost by merely turning the dial of their radio. There are other conveniences in this apartment, but the foregoing list will give a fair idea of some of the concrete evidences of the freedom we of America enjoy. And this is neither political nor economic propaganda. C. Clothing. Anywhere in the United States, the woman of average clothing requirements can dress very comfortably and neatly for less than $200 a year, and the average man can dress for the same or less. Only the three basic necessities of food, clothing, and shelter have been mentioned. The average American citizen has other privileges and advantages available in return for modest effort, not exceeding 8 hours per day of labor. Among these is the privilege of automobile transportation, with which one can go and come at will at very small cost. The average American has security of property rights not found in any other country in the world. He can place his surplus money in a bank with the assurance that his government will protect it and make good to him if the bank fails. If an American citizen wants to travel from one state to another, he needs no passport, no one's permission. He may go when he pleases and return at will. Moreover, he may travel by train, private automobile, bus, airplane, or ship as his pocketbook permits. In Germany, Russia, Italy, and most of the other European and Oriental countries, the people cannot travel with so much freedom and at so little cost. And I will stop there. Good morning, everybody. Hello. All right, let me come back. Martha, so sorry to see her go. Welcome. My goodness, we just had a whole slew of people come in. I got to say hi to everybody, which I can do. Sean, good to see you. Hannity, good to see you. Monty, welcome. Haven't seen you in a while. And we have Raven and Robert. Good to have you here. Benny, so glad you could join us. Who is the Gratitude Diva? I don't know, but I like your handle. Welcome. Reverend Noreen, good to see you with us. So glad you could be here. Chuck. Mohammed, good to see you. Suzanne. Ian, hey, you made it. Julian, oh, the Aussies and the guy in Spain. Good to see you, Steve. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. That was quite a reading. A little longer than I normally do. Sorry about that. And yet I think you understand why I wanted to get through it. We went through an inventory on what that looks like, the annual inventory, the questions we ask of ourselves, and then we went through a list of essentially the freedoms that as American citizens we appreciate, and a recognition that the numbers are a little off. But it's neither political nor economic propaganda. We do enjoy some freedoms. I'm uncertain of the freedoms from other countries. Those who are in other countries are welcome to jump in. The most important thing to me is that we have outlined in front of us an annual inventory that will keep us on track, and that we have actual questions we can ask of ourselves and with a trusted friend to ensure that our answers are accurate. But then we have, the idea that if we have the freedom of opportunity, the question I have is, why aren't we taking it? Which I think goes back to the inventory, which goes back to the desire, which goes back to the, do you have a purpose? So again, the inventory keeps us on track. Good morning, Rich. Welcome. So the seat's open. Anybody have thoughts, comments, questions, experiences they'd like to jump on and share regarding anything related to what we just read? Be happy to have you join us. We just add zeros to the other side, right? Remember the time it was written. Gives us a bit of perspective. Pricing may be off, but then again, when you've got somebody who's only making $150 to $200 a month, maybe it's not. So aside from that, if everybody wasn't asleep, I would jump in. Well, okay. Dana, I'm going to let you have that. And I have got strange things happening with my screen. Hang tight, people. Hang on here. Here we go. I couldn't even get in there to welcome you in, Ian. It's good to see you. Welcome.
That happens. Things change on Blab and you lose where you're at.
I'm telling you, I got here this morning and I'm like, what the heck? Yeah, I'll tell everybody. And then as a host, I can edit topic and all kinds of interesting things. I know I can have a co-host. Don't know how to set that up yet, but I will. I will figure it out. Good morning, Ian. Welcome.
Good evening. It's 10:24 here.
Oh, it is. Yes.
PM.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining me that late. I'd be snoring in bed by now if I were 10:30 at night.
Well, I made a comment the other day about that and I got in trouble for it, so I won't do that again.
Okay.
You're just referring to the reading that you went through, and I know I'm a bit late, but you're looking at that self-analysis questionnaire that's quite prominent in that section. And it strikes me
important part.
Absolutely. And it strikes me that in my work in some mastermind groups, one of the things that I found was that most business owners are really good at SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-based, but they forget the review part.
Yes.
And that checklist is full of review stuff. If you
love it
regularly, like once a quarter. It's a fantastic way to uncover little gold mines in your business. And too few of us do it. So I often talk about smarter goals, where you actually evaluate, measure what happened, and revise what those goals were. And I find that inventory full of revision hints, not just fix yourself hints.
I'm in complete agreement. Sean, click on the H on anyone's profile for co-host. Well, cool. Yeah, I bookmarked the community town hall meeting so that I could learn that. Thank you, everybody. All right, so I am right with you, Ian. So on an annual basis and then on a semi-annual basis, I've been known to go on retreat. And during that retreat is when I review myself and kind of see where am I with who I am and what kind of person I want to be. And the questions are very similar. The difference is that Napoleon Hill is putting this in terms of my business, and I have not done that. I've not done the inventory in terms of myself in the business, nor have I done it in terms of the business itself. And that's why I was really excited to read it, because it's a different take on the kind of inventory that I'm usually guided through. And it's usually by a priest or another faith-based person. The idea being it's an emotional, spiritual, mental inventory to, am I growing? Am I moving forward with who I want to be, sort of thing. But I like it. I mean, I like, just tell me what I'm supposed to do. And then I'll do it, and then I'll change how I do it, and I'll make it suit me, or I'll be challenged, or somebody will make it, challenge me with it. But I've got to have a starting point.
But I like the words you're using about, do I have to? And I think it's a great, fits on one page if you do the font right. And if you actually go through it yourself. And that inspires questions. And that's, I think, where the business plan fits in.
This is, honestly, Ian, I was actually going to stop just before the where and how, but I just felt compelled to get us thinking about, if we go through that inventory, what do we do with it? And what was followed was the beginning of what we do with it, which is the realization of where are we now in terms of opportunity. And that, to me, opened up the idea that any question that hits a gap in me that requires my focus, that requires my attention, is okay, because I'm in an area, I happen to live in a country where I do have opportunities. So that's not going to be an excuse, I think, is what's happening in my head. I'm seeing that as why I wanted to read that, was that's not an excuse, not where I live. I mean, there's restrictions and what have you, but we all know there's ways around them and ways through them, and right?
Yeah, and it really is a simple way of doing a SWOT analysis. Where are you strong? Where are you? Where are the gaps? And what could come and bite you in the bum? Yes, that biting in the bum is not a good thing. I've had that recently. It was not it's a little bit on the negative side, actually, if you think of it. And there's a few more opportunities, perhaps, that it could call out, but it's pretty thorough. You think? Well, pretty. I said I wouldn't go as far as thorough, but... Well, but I think what you said earlier is that, so let's say we're in a mastermind group, you and I both moderate our own, or we're working with a client in some capacity. I could use this. I'm not a coach. In terms of a personal coach, I work with people from the business side and in a lot of ways. And yet these, just a handful of these questions could certainly spring additional thought and conversation and discussion to, let question number 3, have I delivered service in the greatest possible quantity of which I was capable, begin the discussion. And from there, you could easily have 4 to 5 different statements come out of that for review. Yeah, but again, not only for me personally, but then for the staff or the team that I have. And are they doing it? And are we recognizing, bring them into the conversation? Yes. Well, I read this very early in my solo business career. It was one of the first business books people told me to go and read. And reading it, I moved in my business to running my very first mastermind groups about a year later. And I was actually thinking back to some of these questions to inspire the worksheets that I used for those quarterly mastermind reviews. I included them in the actual workshop, but I think just reading it now as a nice one-pager, it'd be better done by the individuals beforehand and then bring it in with a summary that's already prepared, that's already clear.
I like that.
And simplifies the process for a workshop, because it's too much to work through in even a 3-hour workshop with what it is.
Right.
It's great reading the 3 days before and doing your own self-assessment of what's hot and what's not, and what do I bring into the room.
Now, see, it's interesting because I was looking at it as take this as it is, the inventory, and all 28 questions and the preceding paragraph, so that it gives a credit to Napoleon Hill. That's me. And give it to my second and third group, which are, grow your business and then taking your business to the next level, as things for them to keep. But I can see you doing as a workshop. I'm thinking that it could easily become a part of the group itself, in terms of have it as part of a handout, and then checkpoints and a reminder, maybe every third month, a reminder to review it. How are you doing on that? We've been talking about your SMART goals. We've been talking about the business. We've been talking about resources and, your personal growth and that sort of thing. But now, I maybe give it to them with the guidance that this is something for you to have and to utilize in your personal growth and moving forward. Just a thought.
I agree. I think there's even outside masterminds, one of the things that us reading it now, like the comments in the chat box around currencies changing and the like, really helps us realize that a business, whatever niche we're in, whatever industry we're in, comes down to a set of levers that are common across a business. Now you've got a product or a service, you've got income and expenses. There's some basic fundamentals that don't really change across all industries.
Well, that's just it. It's the principles.
And it encourages us to lift ourselves out of it and look more holistically outside our own space and just go, all right, this is a model. And how well am I fitting in with that model, and what bits are weak? So I really like it from that extrapolation.
That. Thank you. Yes, love that. I didn't want to get caught in the details of the pricing and all that, because we could easily do that. But perspective, add a 0 or 2 or 3 in any of those cases, and it's just brought it to today. My gosh, it's almost 100 years old. I mean, we're talking 80. 85 years? No, not quite that much. Sorry. Yeah.
It's still that. But how much are you spending on clothes these days? A bit more than $200, I think.
Prices in New York City are very different than they are where I am. Now, I can tell you that too. And there lies, now let me say, there's my gratitude of living in the United States, that I can travel from state to state without restriction. I can live in any state, any city that I want to. I choose not to live in New York, and for a variety of reasons. Primarily, the culture doesn't suit me. The city itself is very much about restriction, and but it's very expensive to live there. So, where I live, we are here by choice at the moment, and we're making decisions to move. And that's by choice, and we have the freedom to do that. But yeah, I've told people that, not necessarily New York, because I've not rented there, but I lived in Boston, and at the time, Boston rent was about $750 a month for a 1-bedroom. This is back in the 80s. We're talking early 80s, and I could get the same apartment here in Southern Indiana for $250 a month.
Yeah. Boston wouldn't be cheap either, but New York would take the cake.
Yeah. So, I mean, but again, we have the freedom to do that. So that's a personal experience, but we broaden it and we say what opportunity is available. So if I feel stuck, if I feel that I'm banging against that wall, this inventory is an excellent way to figure out where's the gap. And it removes the fear. To me, it removes the fear because it puts it on a rational, logical, you said it, brings me out of. And it's an excellent way to work on the business, not in it. What do you think? Am I close?
I agree. Yep. Those people think.
Oh,
with me.
I'm sorry, what was that?
So I think I agree with me.
That'll work. We have an empty seat if somebody wants to join Ian and me in the discussion, share what you think. And we have Monty. Mastery of the laws of success is very interesting. Freedom to do that allows you to do it anywhere, and the inventory puts you on a base playing field regardless of where you are. Absolutely. It's a beautiful way to say it. Welcome, Eric and Dana. Just saw you come in. Good to see you here. Anybody wants to jump in and share your thoughts, whether you like that inventory or not, whether you think it's useful or not. Yeah, I'm sorry, Brian. Sorry you left here. It's a great place. We read page 132 to 138. Oh, okay. Hanadi, it was good to see you here. I keep mispronouncing her name, bless your heart. I will get it correct. It was good to see you here. Catch you later. So, Maury, welcome. So let's take a look at is there any question that actually stood out at you? I'm just curious.
Not personally from a current status standpoint, but number 26 I thought was interestingly placed.
Oh, am I in the right?
Are you in the right location? It's after you've done all the rest of it. Should you even be here?
Oh, good point. I think it might be appropriately placed, eh? Yeah, good. I like that.
Yeah, I think it should be maybe 28 or number 1. I'm not sure, but 26 is just interestingly placed.
It is. And for me, it was 28, which is make this rating fair. And it's a recognition, I think, that as those of us who are working hard or trying to be better or trying to change on this road would be pretty hard on ourselves when it comes to rating how far we've come, right? So
I think a lot of us have a higher goal, and that's always going to, it's just a bit like the feedback forms on a course. I, for one, find it hard to give 5 out of 5 to people because there's always room for improvement.
Oh, I know. I'm great for 4s. I'm just known. I'm great for 4s. Exactly. If I give somebody a 4, you just rocked it, you know. But I'm also one to complete the forms, you know. So welcome, Maury, Leslie, CJ. And we have Power to Improve. I don't know your name, but I'll welcome you. Good to have you here. Oh, Monty has a big question.
Oh.
If you haven't read the book, is there benefit to the survey? Yes. What do you think? What do you think, Ian? That was my first thought.
I think I alluded to it before. I'm not sure when Lean Mobile Apps came in, but the book as a whole has gems all the way through it. And that inventory could easily fit on one page and be a self-assessment tool to ask more questions.
Standalone.
You can easily expand it to one of those A4 books I saw earlier that people use as notepaper and just do 1 per page and write an awful lot. But it's a great thought provoker to go, where do I want to look further? And to be honest, if we all looked at the 28 and were completely honest, we'd probably find too many areas to focus on. And I'm a big believer in like 90-day plans. So if you found 1 or 2 of those questions that showed a weakness or an opportunity to do better, then that's what you'd focus on in the next 90 days. The others can be the next 3 months after that. Because an awful lot of meat once you realise that you've got a gap in a number of those items.
Well, that's just it.
You're doing the wrong job.
It's going to be a level of acceptance of your answers, right? So if I am going to guess, based on my own experience with doing inventories on a regular basis, that it pretty much every piece that is looked at, I don't, as you said, I'm not a 5. Every piece. And it's because it's a recognition that this is the sum of the year. This is the sum of the 6 months. There's always going to be instances where I was a 6 and outdid everything, and it was just dynamite and wow, fantastic. And then there's going to be the instances where I was a -2 and it would have behooved me to just crawl under the sheets and not have gone out that day for me and the world around me. But when you take the sum of what I've done through the year, who I am through the year, when you take that, takes it out of the context of taking individual instances. And I think that that's more helpful to view it that way. And when I'm viewing it that way, then the overwhelm I don't think is there. It becomes easier to identify the real gaps. I
was just thinking back to the time when this was written, and I guess continuity I've had with many of my clients where they've not been really dynamic startup type concerns. And I mean dynamic in that they haven't found their niche yet. They're going from one idea to the next. Most of mine have been in business for some time, maybe only 2 or 3 years, but they're not changing all the time. And I'm sure there'll be some businesses that look at this checklist and go, for example, was a good one. Have I been either overcautious or undercautious? And in a risk-based society that we have now, there's an awful lot more people going, for example, long-term continuity isn't necessarily important right now. What might be important right now is new ideas, testing new ideas, and just investing until something flies. And then some of these points would probably be a lower priority for that sort of concern, that sort of business, than the ones that Napoleon would have been talking about. And that many of us work with day by day. Like if we're in a business for 5 years, it has a continuity engine that really needs to have systems and be mature. And that will soften the importance of some of these questions for others. Just a thought I have about the time it was written compared to the players of today.
That's interesting because it is a different time and we have different opportunities, and the economics of our world are different, neither good nor bad. I'm just going to say it is different. I like the way that you saw that. And Monty, that is what was going on with Ford and his mastermind partner. Yes. Hello, Molly, Wendy, and 122. If you had a actual name, I would say it. I'll call you 122. Welcome, everybody. For those who don't have a copy of the book, here's a link for you to go to page 132 to 138, glance over it. Our primary focus of the discussion, honestly, is on those 28 questions for personal inventory recommended we do on an annual basis. Self-analysis, personal inventory. It can get very uncomfortable. The one that pops out at me, and it's because it was such a hindrance for many years, is number 6. Have I improved my personality? And if so, in what ways? And I get a lot of people don't understand this, and I get it. You don't have to understand it. You just need to know. The best way I can describe it to you is that I had a friend of mine who is a licensed practicing clinical psychiatrist. Tom is an actual MD. He's a psychiatrist. He said, after we had a long conversation, and he just simply told me that he says, you would have been diagnosed high-level Asperger's. And he said, I'm surprised you made it this long. So I feel much better. I'm here, that I can express today, but this is taking a lot of work. And that's why it kicks out at me. It's beyond being an introvert. It is truly, it just on the personal side. I don't know if any of you have experienced this. There's just a handful that I've come across over the years willing to say it. But quite honestly, it was difficult for me to smile appropriately, to respond appropriately with facial features, because every little thing was always magnified. And if you can imagine overstimulus from the outside, So if you've got loud music going on and you've got television going on and radio and you've got somebody talking to you and you've got the cars going by, right? When that's happening, that's too much for me. And it was at one time. So it's internal now, is a lot of the overstimulus. So the focus and something I've been working on is that personality. Now, whether or not it's pleasing, I let my husband assist me in that. And he often tells me, you're too tired. You don't need to be in public. And I just say, okay, thank you, dear. So there's always something that pops out, right? You know, and there's always something that pops out that, and the only reason I even brought it up was to say that it popped out at me, but not in a negative. It popped out to say that I could do a quick review right now and say that I'm on a good path. I'm good with it. I'm good with where I've gotten and where we are to this point. So that means now we move to the next one, you know.
Yeah, the personality one's an interesting one. The comment in the chat around it being hard if you're an introvert. There's really two layers to the question depending on how deep you want to go. Like, have I improved my personality? A lot of people will just think about surface skills and limited at that, which is quite disconnected from the purpose of the question. Because to improve your personality would be hard to see in any short time. It's one of those questions where you only look at it back over on, in my case, perhaps a year or two. That's sort of a horizon to say, well, has there been any improvement? What's the change in me? It can be a long-term thing for many people. It's hard to shirk off that historical perspective, whatever it might have been.
It is, and I'm glad you said it because the way you did, because Napoleon Hill's telling us this is an annual thing, right? Now, my journey, honestly, business started June of 2008, and from that point to this, anybody who knew me before and knows me now still makes comments that they can't believe the change, and it's good. That's the best part. It's good. Now, if it were negative based on these questions, and that's where we have that trusted friend, right? And that, again, not just that question, but all 28, when we're looking through them and we're having that discussion and we have the, well, you know, you've been getting a lot of feedback about the way you're doing business. Your customers are saying they're great. They're loving the service you're providing, but they're not reordering. You know, the words aren't matching the actions. The people are saying it's wonderful to work with you, but they're not coming back. You know, what additional feedback are you getting? As you said, Ian, that each question, especially when taken with somebody else or in a context of a workshop, could branch off into a couple, three more questions, right?
Yes, definitely.
So if you
the peer review thing where somebody actually asks, allowing you to be honest, because when you're asking yourself, you often, oh, that's okay. That's not a big factor for me. But,
yeah, the other person's going to kind of force you to talk about it. Yeah, that's where it can get a little uncomfortable. But again, a trusted friend or advisor, you know. Let's see here. Anybody else want to jump in? I'm thoroughly enjoying the conversation with Ian. And I'm assuming you are too because you're still here. But I want to give the opportunity. The seats are open. Seats are open. We'd love to have you in here. And Sean, I think at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock is Lynn's. Hey, Sean, if you want to go get the link and put it in here for anybody interested in business networking, you know, to join us in a virtual networking meeting a little bit later. And then Monty says, Silicon Valley is filled with people who have some level of Asperger's and are quite devoid of personality. Yes. But can code, but off resulting. Oh, yes. Oh, we all have a place in the world. We all have a place in the world. And honestly, that's where I was headed. It was me. I made the conscious decision to not be a developer, to not be a coder. I wanted to be more, and I wanted to be different than what I was. So I'm grateful for those that are able to make use of who they are and where they fit. Oh, I hate 360 feedback. Now, can you see that Charlene doesn't fit in the corporate world? No, nobody liked me in 360 feedbacks. That you're talking about inventory when others, you know, oh my word, could we please just move on?
Well, that's another interesting thing. This annual review cycle that Napoleon's talking about, and the concept now of, dare I say it, project-based feedback, rather than annual review cycles that have been, touted in some of the newer corporates. Forget the annual review cycle. The salaries won't be linked to that one-off. How about we do something 3 monthly basis?
I say this has value from the business owner perspective and from a personal perspective.
Yeah.
I love what I'm seeing out of corporate world, doing it as project-based or doing it in shorter terms, your 90 days, where we're doing spot checks. I think that's much more effective for everybody involved. It would be for me. Because, if you're going to sit in front of me and list all the goods, bads, and the uglies happened 7 months ago, what the heck can I do about it? If there were instances that may have been addressed, but are brought up again, that for me was a very frustrating thing. And for those in the room who are professionals who want to meet other business people in a virtual networking setting at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, the join link for that meeting, Sean has put it there. I encourage you to go to the room and check it out. There'll be a presentation and then a few of us in there that are business professionals.
Oh, but that uses Zoom. That's no fun.
I'm sorry, what?
But that uses Zoom. That's no fun.
Yeah, they use Zoom. Yeah, we're not going to use Blab for that one. Can't do presentations on Blab very well. Okay, again, the seat's empty. Or Monty, go ahead. All right, Monty, you're going to tell me it's your hair that's not going to get you in here, right? So self-summary reminds, yes, I think it makes sense on a peer mentor review, but as the employee, I'm curious how it will work. I think I will test it and give feedback. I would love you to do that, Monty.
Interesting.
Whether it's the 28 questions in its entirety or portions to see how it was received by the employee or team member and by you. And I'd love to know I'd love to have that feedback. Thank you, Sean. An additional link to receive notifications. Excuse me. Brian, good to see you here. Welcome. Another Brian in the room. All right. So anything else? What do you think? I'm at the very beginning of the reading, we talked about the effective marketing of personal services requires one to move forward, even if the progress is slow. And I love that we're constantly reminded that it's progress and that we're moving forward. Yes, Sean. It is almost 9 Eastern, approaching the top of the hour for me to shut down the recording and then keep the room open for about 30 minutes or so. Okay, Monty, you're going to try the full 28 questions. How interesting. Yes, would love the feedback on that. When are you going to do that? Monty, when are you going to do that? Do you have a time frame? Good morning, Bianca. Good to have you with us. All right, Monty, do not run away, buddy. Just you said you were going to. When are you going to do that? When are you going to get back to me? Don't leave me hanging here, my friend. No worries. No worries. I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. It really is okay. I just love that you're going to do it and that you're going to provide feedback when you're able to. That's the best part. So again, when we talked about these 28 questions and then followed by how to actually find opportunities to accumulate riches. So we have those 28 questions and we've been through them and we're working through them and now and yet we're still ready or trying to find where are we going to get rich? How are we going to do this? And I love that he grounds us or roots us in a review, again, another review of where are we now and what opportunity is available to us, rather than actually, and I don't know, he may do this later on in the book, but rather than actually outlining, well, you have these industries and these types of corporations or these type of needs that you can address, but instead he begins with the root of where are you now and what opportunities are in front of you, which completely stretches the brain and the mind, right? Just a thought. I like how he's got it laid out. Any other thoughts?
I'm just thinking how Lean Mobile Apps can tell us how his plan went. It'd be good to get
Monty?
some sort of result on what take up he had in terms of completing it, and not so much the scores themselves, but how people felt about it afterwards.
Yeah, and I love how you've got it planned out, Monty. Do it at the beginning of quarter 4 on day 1. Take 7 days to complete it, and have results. And again, I'm looking forward to the feedback. Good morning, Alex. Good to have you with us.
And if you were doing it within sync of a performance appraisal cycle, it'd be a good thing to do before like a month or 2 before the end of year, so that when you're setting goals for the coming year, the changes you want to make are included in that. And that's what I would do in a corporate setting, I think.
Well, and this was put forth as a prepare for your New Year's resolutions.
So you do it 2 months before your appraisal year, which wouldn't be a calendar year, usually. Maybe in some plans, it just depends on where, what sort of organisation you've got. Like I've had some in March, some in September as well.
I like it.
And in your performance appraisal process, you can include all the education people want to have. You can include their stretch targets in the areas where they want to grow.
Yay.
And grow rich.
Exactly. I was hoping you would finish that
Maybe you can't promise that bit.
Yeah, there's no need to bring that part in, Monty, unless that's the reason that they're there, right? Okay, we've pretty much hit close enough to the top of the hour. I'm going to close out the recording and then keep the room open for another 30, 40 minutes if we're up for the conversation. So I want to thank everybody who's joined me. Ian, thank you for coming on live. It's been an excellent conversation and discussion. Thank you, Monty, for your contributions, and everybody in the side chat area. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know, www.growbecauseyouknow.com. We've been here talking about Think and Grow Rich, and what we can do is move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our business. So until